Welcome to AM, Ambitious Minds.
Hello everyone, welcome to our new episode. We have Jessie Pound today, and she is the co-founder of Vuna Tech. This episode is for you if you're interested in agriculture and technology. Hi Jessie.
Hello.
Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about Vuna Tech?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Jessie. I'm finishing up my final year of mechanical engineering at Queen's right now. I started working on Vuna Tech around 3 years ago now. And essentially what we're building is a digital marketplace and management tool for smallholder farmers. So a lot of smallholder farmers in Kenya specifically struggle a lot with selling their produce and often lose over 40% of what they grow, which is nearly half of what they're growing every year. It's insane. Mm-hmm. And a big reason for this is because they don't have access to commercial markets. They're in very rural environments, and the status quo is that they rely on brokers who travel to their farms in person and pay a fraction of what their harvest is worth. So what we do is we help these farmers consolidate so that they meet the volume requirements of larger, more legitimate buyers, and also help provide training and resources that they need in order to meet the pretty high standards for quality that these buyers have. And in doing so, we're able to help connect them to these buyers in a very timely manner and greatly reduce the amount of loss that they experience, and also increase the amount of produce that they're able to produce in a season.
That's a big problem that you're trying to tackle,
yes.
And that's so impressive. So can you tell me what inspired you to start doing this?
Yeah, I think it kind of stemmed from me being really interested in climate. I think I've always had like a deep passion for the earth and keeping our world safe and sustainable for many more generations. And I was doing some research into just climate as a whole a few years back and came across a documentary talking about the role of agriculture in climate. And I was just completely blown away at how big of an impact it had on climate. The agriculture sector as a whole is estimated to produce or in some way contribute to a third of global emissions. And I feel like that is just insane, and it's really like not talked about. Yep. So that was what initially piqued my interest in agriculture and the role it plays in the planet. And from there, I just started doing more research and started publishing some of my own like articles about the topic, just to kind of like get the word out there, because I was like, why don't we talk about this? This is like has as of, if not an even bigger impact on climate than say like renewable energy, but we always talk about renewable energy. Yeah. So through that is kind of how I got myself out there, and it's how I originally connected with my now co-founder. Mm-hmm. Through just her seeing the work that I was publishing. And then we met virtually. Both my co-founders are born and raised in Kenya. And so initially just was working on helping support mango farmers in Kenya through like a project, and then we ended up applying for this competition and got some funding through that, and it kind of just snowballed into eventually we incorporated it as a company in Kenya.
Great, thank you. So tell me more about the beginning of your journey, when you were supposed to identify and secure the resources that you needed for starting Vuna Tech, and what were the first steps for you to start this journey?
Yeah, I would say the biggest help or impact that provided like the resources and everything that we needed to get started was the competition. And I would say like if you're in the early stages of starting something or wanting to start something and you have an idea, joining some sort of competition or accelerator is like probably one of the best things you can do, especially if you're a student and like doing this part-time. I think like if we hadn't gotten the funding that we did from that competition and the support and resources that we did, our work never would have turned into a company. And initially when I started working on this project, my thought was never, oh, this is going to be like a business. But just naturally through all the time that was spent on the problem and the funding that we got enabling us to spend that time on the problem, it naturally kind of turned into that. So that would be my advice. Like if you're struggling on how to start, how to get the resources, there's so many great competitions and accelerators out there, especially like geared towards students. So I would definitely recommend applying to as many as you can and trying to take advantage of those.
What were the resources that they provided for you?
So the biggest thing was funding, obviously, but also it was a competition that was geared specifically towards ag tech in Africa. It was put on by the Milken and Motsepe Institutes, and they have a lot of experts and people in their network who are super knowledgeable about the topics that we could rely on for funding. They put on weekly workshops and classes virtually for all of the competitors, and like all of that stuff was like super helpful. So not only in understanding like how you identify the problem and the need, but also like how do you pitch and craft this into a compelling story. All of that like was super helpful in just getting our boots off the ground. And the other thing I would say is the great thing about accelerators and competitions is that they just like give you deadlines, because if you're a student and you're working on a company and trying to start something, it's so easy for that to become last on the priority list over things like schoolwork that actually have deadlines. When you have an accelerator or competition that you're working on that has deadlines, it forces you to put it higher up in the priority list. And that was also a huge part. It's just like the motivator that is what gets you to work on it and commit to it. So yeah, the commitment and motivation piece was also huge.
Yeah, I can agree that having a deadline really make you committed to your goal.
Yeah.
So it would be so helpful. So what were the challenges you faced with Vuna Tech, and what were the learning outcome from it?
So many. There's so many. I think for me, like a big one was because our company and the problem that we're focused on solving is in Kenya and I'm in Canada. There was a lot of challenges I had to navigate surrounding like understanding the local environment and context that you can't really get from just like researching. So I knew that if I wanted to commit to this project, I needed to like go to Kenya and be on the ground. First challenge was doing that and finding the resources, just logistics of getting to Kenya. That took me a long time because my parents weren't necessarily like supportive of me going. A lot of like unknowns surrounding that. I'd never been to Africa, and I'd been working with my co-founders virtually the entire time. So I first went around a year and a half into working on it. It was like 2 summers ago. And so finding the funds so that I could like kind of sacrifice a summer where I could potentially be working an internship, for example, and instead go and like work on this passion project was very difficult. So it was a lot of like part-time work during the school year, a lot of pitch competitions to try and get grant funding and stuff like that. And also just like building up the courage to actually go. I think buying the ticket and like stepping out of the plane was like one of the scariest things I've ever done, because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like going alone, I've never met these people. And then also just like when I actually got there, figuring out again like the context and just like culture that I wasn't familiar with on the ground. It's such a different way of doing things, and I had a little bit of experience in the past of like building a company here in North America, and it's so different. It's like night and day. The first part is just like the culture around meetings and time. There's like Kenya time, which is like if you say let's have a meeting at 3 p.m. you probably won't start meeting that person until like 4 p.m. Like, like there's a very different culture around time.
Yeah.
Here, it's like you schedule a meeting online, for example, and you have like 3 to 3:30. You get on the call right at 3, you end the call right at 3:30. That is not a thing in Kenya. There's no such thing as scheduling a half-hour meeting. Relationship building and trust-based relationships are how business gets done there. And so that takes a lot of time. And so meetings are majority, I would say, just like talking and getting to know the person and building a relationship first. And then like maybe the last like 20 minutes of like a 2-hour meeting is going to be talking about business and okay, how do we work together? So that was like huge getting used to. It was kind of frustrating, honestly, at first. We just like get straight to the point and we like get things done, but the slower sort of pace and culture is like something I had to get used to. And yeah, like the trust thing. It's very trust-based business, so if they don't trust you, they're not necessarily going to tell you the truth, and they're not necessarily going to work with you in the way that you want them to. So yeah, there was definitely some challenges with that, but it's a constant learning experience.
So what would you say was the biggest lesson that you have learned?
I think in general, the importance of saying yes to things, because I had to say yes a lot of times when I was like very scared to, or didn't feel like I was ready necessarily, whether that was like going to Kenya or like saying yes to like certain pitches or opportunities. If I'd said no to those things out of fear, I never would have gotten as far as I have. And also the importance of like putting yourself out there. If you're passionate about a problem space and you want to make an impact in that problem space, you could be doing so much research like behind the scenes on your own, like on your nights and weekends, and you can know everything about it and have the best idea ever. But if no one knows about it, then you're not going to meet the kind of people that are going to work with you, like push this forward or give you opportunities to actually put this into motion. Like if I hadn't been publishing articles about agriculture and stuff like that, never would have found my co-founder. So if you're knowledgeable about a topic space or passionate about a certain problem, even if you don't feel like an expert, just start putting stuff out there, like putting small little articles, like pieces of content, just so like people know that you're into this and thinking about it. And then they'll reach out to you and connect you to other people who could teach you so much. And yeah, I think building in public and putting yourself out there is like night and day difference on how far you can go and how fast.
That's a great advice. I would say that is the first step that everyone can start doing in order to get where they want to be. How do you see Vuna Tech in future? What do you see the impact of it?
Well, that's tough because
Be ambitious. Like we can get there.
in my wildest dreams, like best case scenario, I see Vuna Tech expanding to be onboarding like hundreds of farmers a month, expanding not just like avocado farmers in Kenya, but expanding to other crop types like mangoes, dragon fruit, and to other countries in Africa. Like we've already kind of started looking to like South Africa or like Tanzania, Ghana. So in the next few years, I really hope that is what is happening, but we'll see.
That's going to have a huge impact on food industry especially, and for all the farmers in Kenya.
I hope so, yeah, because most of the farming in Africa is still subsistence farming, and like most countries in Africa import more than they export, which is insane given the amount of resources they have domestically. So how can we like unlock the potential of all these like smallholder farmers and make sure that they're able to like contribute fully to the economy and in the same vein help themselves escape this like cycle of poverty? Yeah.
That's definitely going to be a long journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This is like a 10 plus year problem, like wicked problem, you might say. So
we'll get there.
We'll get there, hopefully.
Yeah. So Jessie, do you have any last words to our audience?
I guess like the last thing I would say is I'm very happy to speak with anyone who's interested in entrepreneurship or who might just be interested in agriculture as well, and would love to bounce ideas off anyone. So I am very easy to reach. I think the best place is probably LinkedIn, and I'll send Ava the link to my LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessie. This was a great episode. Thanks for putting your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome.